second video on stress and the effects on the body. Last video I covered chronic stress on the mind, and now we're doing chronic stress on the immune system. So I was just refreshing, and I do this before recording each video, on the exact effects, because I want to be specific and make sure I provide specific resources to further your own learning, or just to verify what I've said in the description box. So I was reading up to refresh, like I just said, and now I already knew it dropped your immune system down, because I used to get sick a lot. Oh my god. Every week I was sick with something. I've had measles, I've had mumps, I've had meningitis, viral and bacterial, I've had whooping cough, I've had pneumonia, flus more times than I can count, bronchitis, it was chronic. Now I got sick so often I never get sick now. Knock on my chair. So I knew it made your immune system weaker, but I never actually went into the specifics of how it makes it weaker until doing the research here. And some research started in the 80s by some doctors, and I'll link to the article that gives you all the specifics, where they were they noticed something in studying mice under stress, and then went to, based on those findings, moved forward to doing a 10-year study on university students and measuring stress versus immune response. And what they found was production of natural killer cells, white blood cells, lymphocytes, all of those would drop during periods of stress. Usually the 3-day exam period is specifically what they were looking at. They also would give them a flu vaccine and measure before and after during the period of stress to also measure immune response, because that's exactly what it's designed to do, is stimulate your immune system. So they would measure spit, the cortisol, to measure the overall stress level, and then they would also check specific immune markers in the students before and during and after. And they found again the same thing, that all these different immune factors would drop in production during the period of stress. Now, what I did not find specifically was whether or not it was actually the production of them was reduced, or if they were just drained and not producing more. Now, I would speculate that it's probably actually just reducing overall production, and so they just get used up and you don't have them there. And seeing these results where you're more prone to get sick because your immune system is not functioning properly just from short-term stress, afterwards you recover. And if you're younger, you recover faster. If you're older, it's harder. Same as always. It's not impossible, but harder. But with chronic stress, you don't get the chance to recover, so you end up with things like chronic illnesses, increasing that stress, and neurodegenerative diseases, irritable bowel syndrome, all kinds of things just keep getting worse because of these things getting downregulated. They're not being produced as much, and they're depleted at higher rates, so you're more likely to get sick. Your immune system it's gonna fuck you. It's going to mess up. It can't function properly with chronic stress or even short-term stress. But let's just go into the research. But some of what I was reading, that study I mentioned in the early 80s, a psychologist and immunologist were working together on the study I mentioned from 1982 through to 1992, but their research spawned a whole bunch of studies, so that by the time 2004 came around, there was over 300 studies for some other doctors from the University of Kentucky and University of British Columbia could do a meta-analysis. This is where they take a whole bunch of studies, they check for quality and what they were looking at to make sure everything's consistent in terms of data points, what information they're looking at, to compare the results and get a bigger picture on overall results. That way when you have conflicting studies, so one says this happens and another one says it doesn't happen, you can get a better idea of actual trends, because they'll be repeated and different studies looking at different factors and different study designs. So this is the point of a meta-analysis. When you gather up dozens to hundreds of studies, like in this case over 300, to get a bigger picture on whether or not what's happening is actually happening based on the numbers. It's like statistics, you're aggregating data. And what they found from this big meta-analysis was that it still held true, was that short-term and long-term stress downregulated your immune system. So there's no real deviation from that. It might deviate on how badly it does it, but the intensity of the stress did not affect this, only duration. So longer stress is worse versus short stress. You can have high intensity stress and still have the same result, or you can have mild stress and still have the same result. Yeah. The meta-analysis also revealed that people who are older or already sick are more prone to stress-related immune changes. For example, a 2002 study by I'm just going to skip names for time reasons, reported that even chronic subclinical mild depression may suppress an older person's immune system. Participants in the study were in their early 70s and caring for someone with Alzheimer's disease. Those with chronic mild depression had weaker lymphocyte T cell responses to 2 mitogens, which model how the body responds to viruses and bacteria. The immune response was down even 18 months later, and immunity declined with age, in line with the 2004 meta-analysis. It appeared that the key immune factor was duration, not severity of depression. And in the case of the older caregivers, their depression and age meant a double whammy for immunity. So, there you have it. You're really going to want that video at the end on how to cope with stress. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, tell me what's up, and see you next time.